Microsoft rolled out Windows 10 version 1809 this week, and it's been a total disaster. We've had issues of quality. We've had issues, just issue after issue after issue. I'm here with Ed Bott and Mary Jo Foley to talk about fixing this mess and what we should do. Ed, what do you see as the big issues here?
Well, there's really two of them. One is the question of overall quality, and the fact that a bug snuck into the product that deleted users' files that's the most severe category of bug that you can possibly get. And the fact that it made it past testing, even after it had been reported several times in the feedback hub to Microsoft, is a real black eye on Microsoft. And the fact that they had to pull the update just days after releasing it is frankly unprecedented. So, part of the problem that we need to discuss is, do they have a quality problem with the way that they're releasing software? But I think the other issue that fits in there is that even if they do everything perfectly, even if they do all the testing and read all the bug reports and respond to them properly, is it acceptable to their customers, to the people who are using Windows 10, especially in homes and small businesses, to be forced to do a full upgrade every 6 months?
That's a good point. I just kind of wonder, I don't know if I don't think they're used to moving at this cadence overall. And I also think Agile's hard. And it also, you have to, take a few quality shots. Mary Jo, what's your take on the quality issue and how do you fix it?
I think even if they don't have a giant quality issue, the question is, how many people were actually affected by this known folder redirect bug? I think they said something like 1/100th of 1%. Regardless of that, though, it's about the optics to me. So even if you weren't affected, even if you didn't even start rolling this update out to your customers yet as a large IT shop, you heard about this. And it's got to be in the back of your mind. Is Microsoft having a quality issue? Do they know what they're doing in terms of reliability? Is this sustainable? So I actually wrote a proposal this week on my blog saying maybe they should do what they did back with XPSP2 and have a reset. Back in those days, it was a security reset. Maybe now they need a quality reset.
And by a reset, you mean what exactly?
I would say at least one of these 2 annual feature updates that they're doing every year should perhaps be just about fit, finish, and fixing the underlying infrastructure and the processes instead of always just feature, feature, feature. I think enterprises would be really happy about that if you said, hey, you know what? Our spring update is our new feature update. Our fall update is our quality update where we just make sure everything works inside the org and inside the product.
So Ed, we know they got the 6-month idea from every other cloud vendor, right? I mean, whether it's as soon as the cloud came around, somehow we got onto a 6-month cadence. It's spring, it's fall, you go. Is 6-month updates, is that too much, too little?
Well, from a development point of view, it actually works pretty well. And I think, surprisingly, the quality of these spring and fall releases has been generally about as good as Microsoft's ever done with any kind of software. It is difficult to compare it to their more mainstream operating system competitors. Android is on an annual cadence. iOS is on an annual cadence. Mac OS is on an annual cadence. And more importantly, in all 3 of those cases, the updates are optional. You see a new update come out, you can sit and you can watch it for months before you're forced to release it. What Microsoft has done that I think is probably the problem here is that they're forcing it onto machines, especially people using Windows 10 Home who don't have any management controls over it, or people in small businesses who might have Windows 10 Pro or maybe even have Windows 10 Enterprise, but don't really understand how the management tools work. So I'm not opposed to the idea of pushing out new builds every 6 months, but maybe, as I wrote in an article yesterday, maybe the thing to do is to follow the same sort of release schedule that Ubuntu Linux does, where they have builds that come out every 6 months, but most of those are categorized as interim releases, and they're optional updates for people. The long-term releases could be every year or maybe even every 2 years where you're forced to upgrade. That might work better than this forced march of every 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, the forced issue is interesting because, like Apple, I feel like they forced me to upgrade. Android, you can just leave whatever's there for almost ever. So, Mary Jo, how do you think they should do this better?
Yeah, I think I like the idea that Ed proposed of having home users have an optional have a choice. Basically, do I want both updates? Do I just want one a year? But I don't think Microsoft will do that. And the reason I don't think they will is they are using home users as almost like a fourth ring in their development process. So when they release a new when they release a final build of a Windows 10 feature update, after it's gone through all the insider rings, it then goes to home users. And they're like the guinea pigs. They're like the next ring, right? And so I don't think Microsoft wants to do away with that. I think they want them to be forced to take it so they can kind of act as the last ring before Microsoft says to businesses, okay, now it's all clear. You guys can now implement it. So I'm not sure they'll do away with the forced update just because I think they're using us as testers.
Yeah,
well, there is an option.
I don't see them doing away with that either, largely because, one, it's optics. Like, they want to look like they're upgrading all the time. And that's part of what they sell to consumers to begin with, right? And enterprises, right? It's sort of like, we're your innovation engine. We're always going to be there. And that works until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it's a brand hit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, exactly.
So, Ed, what's the risk reward to them in terms of juggling that?
Well, the risk, of course, is negative perceptions in the marketplace. You basically get back to the situation of Windows Vista 12 plus years ago now, where it developed this reputation of being slow, unreliable, crashy, and such. I think Mary Jo has a really good point that the reward for them comes from basically turning the home users into the first wide-scale release that gives them an opportunity to test configurations that they literally can't test within a lab. So it's sort of necessary to do that. But I think maybe there's a middle path there, which is that they can offer incentives to people to upgrade. When a new upgrade, when say the April upgrade is ready, right now a box comes up that says, hey, guess what? The April updates here. You've got 7 days to approve its installation. You can delay it by up to 7 days or schedule the installation within the next 7 days. But if you don't schedule it, it's going to be installed within 7 days. Instead of doing that, maybe they sell the option to upgrade. Hi, would you like to be one of the first people to experience the spring 2019 update? And I think they'll get an awful lot of people who will say yes to that because people do like new things. They won't get 100% coverage. They might not even get 50% coverage, but they'll get millions and millions and millions of PCs. And on top of that, I think they could add incentives. For example, if somebody's already an Office 365 home or personal subscriber, offer to extend their subscription by a month if they agree to install the April 2019 update. There's ways that they can do it, but the idea that everyone, regardless of their wishes has to install this thing, I just don't think is sustainable.
Yeah, that seems like it'd be a valid move, because if you got people to opt into these updates and get things earlier, you would also buy yourself some tolerance, right? Because those type of people would be like, yeah, it didn't go so well. And they're willing.
Yeah, and you can add support options on top of that, to say, if you experience any problems, here's the phone number that you call. Support professionals are standing by to assist you. That's certainly what they did with the current bug that they're experiencing. All of those people were given support numbers to call, and as it is right now, if you have any kind of trouble installing a Windows 10 upgrade, you do have free support available to you. So there's no reason that they can't have, both the incentive and the helpline out there to make it appear that, hey, you're helping us, we're here to help you.
Yeah, the one problem with that is if I have to call support hotline over a weekend, I'm killing somebody. Like if any tech goes bad off hours, I am just livid, because you're just taking away personal time.
Well, sure, but this is a thing that you opted into, at least,
right.
Which is different from a thing that they did to you where you really feel twice as angry because you have to call to fix it over the weekend.
Yeah, I wouldn't opt in. So
I think though the other thing they can do like this to kind of create the image that they're being responsive is going back to my point about, what about a reliability reset? I mean, some people are going to be against this who work in Windows, because they'll be like, oh, this is egg on our face saying we're not reliable and that we have a quality issue. But other people, like enterprise customers and business customers and small business customers, will say, hey, I love that they're doing this. This is amazing. And I'm really happy that they just took ownership of their issue. They're going to do something for 1 6-month period. Maybe that's one time thing, just like XPSP2 was, and then they're going to move on. I think it would help them a lot to show that they realize there's something that's not working in this Windows as a servicing strategy, and that they were public about the fact that they want to make it right for everybody.
That brings me to my last question here, which is, how many features are enough? Too much? Too little? I've updated Windows 10 a few times now, and I can't tell you one thing new they threw into it. Don't even notice. I mean, I guess Cortana does something. I don't know. Cortana who? But generally speaking, I don't know what they've done. So I don't know. What kind of features should they be getting us, and how many and how often?
Yeah, I don't know if you can give a definitive number and say 100 or fewer than 100. And I agree with you. A lot of these are kind of under the covers type of features where, it's like we tweaked where this box is located now, or we've added a fluent design to this or that. So they're not always widely viewed features. The one group of features, though, that I think they should not go away from, and that their business customers really care a lot about, are the security features. It doesn't really matter how many
We all froze there. Mary Jo froze.
I'm still here.
All right. That's crazy. Okay. So Ed, what kind of features should we have going on?
Well, the fact that you didn't notice any new features is probably, I think, a sign of success, because it means that whatever incremental changes they're making in there aren't enough to trigger the whole "who moved my cheese" reaction. But I can tell you, there's things like the notifications pane that are dramatically improved over what it was 2 years ago through the course of 4 updates. And those have been little tweaks that are designed to make the notifications pane more useful, less annoying, and those are all based on feedback. So that kind of stuff is good. There's been some other tweaks to the ability to find programs on the start menu. And again, those were things that you don't notice because you click the start button and the menu pops up and it looks basically the same. But for people who dig in and actually use those features, there's a click or two less that they have to do. So the fact that they're making incremental improvements like that, I think is pretty decent. Mary Jo made a decent point, though, I think that we shouldn't lose sight of, which is that features include security improvements and reliability improvements that happen at the architectural level. So those are, and those can go down to the kinds of changes to Windows that, for example, address the heartbleed issue, or that address, meltdown inspector issues in the Intel CPUs. You don't want those kinds of things being delivered with the monthly updates because they have a real potential to mess things up when they're installed as part of an upgrade. But they're also the kind of features that you're not going to notice in day-to-day use, but they're really important. I don't know. When I look at the list of features each release, each 6 months, I'm usually impressed with how long the list is, but I'm also impressed by the fact that there aren't too many things in there that seem trivial to me. They've done a pretty good job of balancing those things out.
All right. Mary Jo, your cat hit escape or something, didn't it?
Yep, he did. That's exactly what just happened.
So final word on features before you were rudely cut off by your cat.
Yeah, sorry about that. So I think they need to, unless they do this pause again for reliability and quality, when I think they should just put everybody and all hands on that task of fixing the processes and the infrastructure. I think after that, you make sure you have security updates in every release that you do, because that's what your business customers really want. Have manageability updates. Some of these other features they've added, like emoticons and things like that, it's like, okay, nice to have, but not really must have. And I think it's important for Microsoft to remember they may in some ways be competing with iOS and Android, but this is a desktop operating system, not a phone operating system first and foremost. So they need to think about features that matter to people in a work environment on a desktop around productivity, and not get all caught up in, how many new this or that do we have compared to iOS.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, guys.